Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another third stimulus check unemployment benefits extension update. And hopefully everyone had a great weekend if you are watching this on release date, or certainly at least a week or just days so far, depending on when you're watching this. But we have really great news to share in today's update, and the great news is about an actual official decision result. So not just about more lawsuits that have been coming up, although that is always great news to share because it does mean that we are making progress. But the really great news to officially put out there is that we now officially have a fourth state that has officially released information about their hearings decision and / results. And the really great news is that that fourth state ended up in a victory where they have now officially gained back their unemployment at this current time. Again, keep in mind is that the case is not closed, but they've at least won the injunction, and the judge has officially made it official that they will now be getting their unemployment back. A huge congrats now to the state of Oklahoma. So huge congrats theirs is that if you happen to be in Oklahoma, is that they have officially now just won their injunction. So with this becoming the fourth state, I believe the 4 states, as a massive recap, that have now officially won their hearing in order to bring back their unemployment is going to, it started with essentially Indiana. They won it, and on top of that, people in Indiana have actually confirmed, so it's not just a win, but it's actually been confirmed by people living there that they've officially now gone back to their unemployment program. They've officially received the retro payment, and so far it's much better there right now. I do believe Maryland is also the second state that was able to win their injunction, and I believe at this time they're pretty much close to winning their lawsuit, actually, like as in the actual full lawsuit at this time. It might have even already won at this time, but the story is with Maryland is that they never even had to actually officially end it, because they were originally scheduled to end it, but one day before that happened, they were able to win their injunction in order to continue it. So they were able to have a smooth rollover, so never had to pause. And in other words, they were essentially saved before it had to actually officially physically end. So that is the really great news. And I believe at this time is that their case is on the verge of officially settling soon. So that is the really great news, or might have even already been settled by the time that you're watching this. Feel free to share information if you happen to be there. And then the third state, of course, happened to be Arkansas. Arkansas, the really great news is that they've officially won the injunction to come back. However, I will admit, and we kind of did mention this in the last video, I believe the video is literally just called 10 states because it talks about the 10 states that have officially had a lawsuit open. But the story with inside of Arkansas is that they did win their injunction. However, at this current time is that the governor is trying to fight the judge's decision. So even though they've officially won the injunction, the story is that they're having a little bit of uncertainty right now about how they're going to be able to actually physically get the unemployment back, even though we've already won the right to physically get it. Now it's really just about planning the logistics to actually physically do it. But of course, we talked a little bit about that in the last video. Maybe we'll talk about it in today's video a little bit, but also put that video at the very end screen, literally just called 10 states great news, because it talks all about that. But the idea is that in today's update, I really just want to give an update that we currently have about other states, a little bit maybe about what's been going on in Oklahoma now that they have officially won their injunction, and really all of the important details. So we're going to get started as always, but real fast, maybe before we begin, remember to smash the like button in light of the really great news. I think it's at least certainly hopeful and positive to hear from most people, even if you happen to be in the other states, because if you happen to be in a state outside, the fact that more states win also means that there's more inspiration for hopefully even more states to potentially follow along and join suit. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about honestly just really anything or any particular information that you might have in your particular state, because some of this information actually comes out on local news before it even makes headlines on national news. So you might even know much faster than almost anyone else, and I think everyone would greatly appreciate it. And as always, feel free to consider subscribing and hitting the bell if you guys are brand new here, and a huge thanks for being around if you've been here for a while. So with that being said, now let's get this video started. So the really great news, as just mentioned, is that the state of Oklahoma, the judge that's over there, has officially made their decision over this weekend that they've now officially decided to restore the unemployment benefits at this time, so that they're basically making the unemployment department finally officially bring it back. Now, I believe at this time is that they have not actually planned the logistics to when they will physically roll over or when they will physically return. So there's a little bit of a question mark there. We will probably have to make an update in the future about that to kind of know about when they physically actually return it back. But the idea is, the great news is that at least the judge is now siding in favor of us, essentially the people that are trying to win it back. I do also know about one thing about Oklahoma is that supposedly the judge is going to be releasing even more information this upcoming week about what they personally think, because keep in mind, as always, is that the case is still very much open, so anything can kind of change. But it is very important, because what the judge ends up saying actually shows what side the judge is actually leaning towards favoring. And so right now at this time, as mentioned, is that it's towards the people, which I think is really great news. And they're hoping to release even more details about what the judge thinks throughout this upcoming week. And also, another great news, also interestingly, about Oklahoma is that there are now actually several states, as we've kind of mentioned in a past update. I believe it's literally called Approve $2,000, and I'll put it once again at the end screen. Most of you guys have seen it, so huge thanks. But just for anyone that's new, because I know there's some people that haven't, the idea really is that there are actually several states that are now actually doing back to work bonuses. That's really the fast summary. And so they're doing programs. Some of these states are doing programs of up to $2,000 for people that go back to work. So the story is that now in Oklahoma, not only have they now officially won the right to bring back their unemployment, but actually in Oklahoma, they're also doing their own back to work bonus, which they've now officially actually just started, and actually now opens applications, so you guys can also apply there. So if you happen to be there, the really great news is that now you guys actually get a little bit of an option to actually now physically choose. In other words, that if you, now obviously there's, you know, some stuff that's maybe difficult, because it's not always a full choice, because it can be difficult to actually find employment. But it's really just more about having the choice that if you do actually successfully manage to find employment, then the really great news that if you happen to be there now is that if you're able to do that, you can now potentially now apply for the back to work bonus. On another note is that if you still currently are unemployed, or if you're just basically trying to at least sustain for now until some kind of event, maybe when your company reopens, or maybe when your job or your industry, or when you find work, anything like that, then the really great news is that you should now be able to get your unemployment back sometime, hopefully soon. But of course, as mentioned, is that we're really just waiting information. But I figured I'd put it out there, if you are someone that's unemployed, that's maybe considering, or maybe just trying to actually go back to work, to maybe apply for this before you actually physically do. Now, beyond this is that the only real update I really have is really about 3 states, which is essentially going to be Texas, Florida, and Louisiana. So the story with those 3 states is that their hearing / decision / answer from the judge is going to be coming out throughout this week. I believe is that in Florida and in Texas, their hearing is going to be scheduled sometime throughout this week. I believe in Texas, it's supposed to be on August 12th, 2021. So it's coming up really soon. And I believe Florida is also going to be this week. And the idea is that they're going to essentially officially now have their actual judges hearing, where they're going to sit down and talk about what they physically think about the decision. I believe Louisiana is hopefully going to now officially also release information about what the judges thinks. So this is going to be a pretty epic week. Of course, because it hasn't actually physically happened yet, we don't actually know the results. But the great news is that we at least finally are making progress, and we hopefully will find out information soon. Now, I will say is that I do think it's important to notice is that most states, the great news is that it has been relatively promising. But if you guys have seen past updates, kind of like what happened with the situation with Ohio and Arkansas, as some of you guys know, is really the fact that sometimes, because there's some variation in the judge, there is some variation in state law, and there's definitely variation in political party and just political bias, or just simply put, just bias in the law legal system. It does mean that it is very possible that you may have different states that sometimes will plead the same exact case and the same exact story, suing about the same exact situation, but one state will gratefully win, and then one state might struggle a little bit. So when it comes to Texas, Louisiana, and Florida, I will say is to maybe just know is that it looks hopeful according to what most states have gone through, but to still just go in with a little bit of an open mind, because it's really difficult to tell and can really swing both ways, like what's already officially happened in the 4 states that have thankfully already won back their injunction, but technically the 5 states that have actually released information about their hearing, and then the other states that are likely going to be following relatively pretty soon. So I think that's the really big takeaway from this. But beyond this, is really the only big thing maybe to know from here is that the jobs report did recently come out. I believe in the last month they officially found and reported that about 845,000 jobs were added in the month of July. But however, it is really, really important to notice is that a lot of people believe that this number is a little bit skewed. And why we bring up this number is that it's actually very, very important, because it's going to show the direction about how the unemployment, the labor market, and everything related to that is currently right now, and how it's progressing or going to change coming up into the future, especially with unemployment now with only about a month left to go. They're going to potentially be using these numbers to gauge on the decisions of what they eventually hopefully end up deciding to do. And so the big thing to note right now is that the great or big news, depending on how you see it, because it's great news because it means that it's recovering, but it also does mean that it decreases the likelihood of more extensions, if that is something that you're looking into, is that the jobs report came out relatively positive in the sense that they are adding more jobs. However, the big thing is that at that current time, Delta, as most of you guys know, that's currently all over the news, was not really a major issue. And at this current time, we are now starting to see cases of Delta really start to rise again. So we don't really know about the situation because it's going up very, very fast, and information can happen really, really just all over the place and pretty quickly. So we never really know where it's going to go from here. But the big thing is that the jobs report that we had, while it is positive, it can be a little bit skewed, because many people predict that with Delta now rising again, it may potentially cause a reversal inside of the job market to maybe turn around. But of course, we don't really know for that for sure right now. Maybe if you guys are brand new here, consider subscribing so we can hopefully maybe share them when they do come out. But the big thing to take away is that most states, at least the really, really great news is that they are moving in the right direction. Huge congrats if you happen once again to be in Oklahoma, and huge congrats if you're in the 10 states that have now officially opened a lawsuit. We just now have to see what physically happens. But with that being said, that's really what I just wanted to share in today's update. So if you guys maybe enjoyed that or found that insightful, maybe consider smashing the like button, consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts, or feel free to share any information that you might have about honestly just really anything at all. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.